Thank you to Mary Alice of the UR Alumni Association for allowing us to host this event, to alumni and the community. And we have a wonderful panel here this evening from Long & Foster Real Estate and also Prosperity Home Mortgage. Athena Peterson from Fairfax and Reston. We have Justin Messer from Prosperity Home Mortgage along with Brian Hope. So we can go ahead and get started. Oh, and I'm Kathy Schmidt. I'm a UR alumni, class of 1985, back when we used to use typewriters. So, dating myself, but anyway, welcome. I love being a spider. And the next slide, I guess we can go ahead and get started.
Hey, thank you very much. I'll try to go quick. I am subbing in for Dave Rotel, who was the original presenter here, but I'm going to handle it. So we're going to talk just really quickly. And Prosperity Home Mortgage is about a 40 some odd state lender whose focal point is Washington, D.C. Metro historically, owned by Long & Foster. So I'm going to focus on the Northern Virginia housing market as a proxy for kind of what's going on in a lot of metro markets in the country. A lot of flight directly out of the metropolitan areas. In this area, it's Washington, D.C., out to the suburbs. So just want to talk about that for a second. So if you look at some really quick stats here, what you see, the theme, months of supply, we call it, all-time low, active listings, all-time low, new listings, however, so new houses on the market, a huge high, okay? So if we look at just 3 counties around Washington, D.C., again, what we see is active listings at a 5-year low, days on market, which means I list my house, how long does it take to sell, all-time low, sales prices, all-time high. The interesting thing about that is, so we don't have any listings, but we have plenty of people listing houses. And so that's the weird thing, which tells you that houses are just selling too fast. Okay, so again, it's not an issue of people aren't listing their houses, there aren't houses up for sale. It's an issue of we can't keep them on the market. There's too much action going on in real estate. And you see it, you hear horror stories of 20, 40, 50 offers on a house and going for 200 over ask. It's all pointing out where it is in the numbers. So if we take a step back and we look from a country perspective, there's something called Case-Shiller Home Price Index, super boring, but it gives you an idea of exactly where homes are priced in comparison. That looks really frightening. It looks like it's at like an all-time high. If you adjust it for, inflation though, it's actually right, it's high, but it's nowhere near the peak we were in 2008 or 2007, 2006. So we look at all of that. We hear everything on the news. We hear about how home prices are out of control. The question we ask ourselves is, are we in a housing bubble? And here's the important thing here, right? We want to talk about, is it safe to buy a house right now? Okay, so that's the key. Here's what I'll say. It's hopeful that we're not. And I'm optimistic that we're not. And I don't just say that because I want to. I say it because, even though houses are up 93% in the last 11 years, it's not speculation. So what drove the bubble before, let's call it pre-financial crisis, had a lot to do with people speculating and buying 4, 5, 6, 7 houses. A lot of them ended up vacant, okay? And if you looked at the US vacancy rate, which means houses that weren't actually lived in, it was up around 3% during the financial crisis, okay? Right now, if you look at it, it's down below 1%, okay? So it was shy of 3% in 7 and 8. Right now, it's 0.9%. So the houses aren't vacant. People are actually moving in them. They're buying them to live in them, okay? That's the lowest since 1956. And the inventory is the lowest since 1963. So one thing I want to mention here is that, we're going to talk next about something called inflation, and that means prices rising. We'll talk about it really quickly. But if you've heard about lumber prices going crazy, this is why, okay? They can't build enough houses to put people in them. So the builders need more lumber. Therefore, there's pricing power, meaning they can charge more for the lumber. Unfortunately, that means if you're looking at a new construction, new build house, the price just went up by, I think it said on average, I read something, $26,000 or $36,000 throughout the country. So that tells you that even though it's not a bubble, it doesn't mean things don't continually get more expensive every single day. It also means if you buy and it's expensive, I don't think you're going to look in the rearview mirror and regret it in 3-4 months because prices tumble. So the question is, how do we keep it going? We have to keep housing affordability. So we need low mortgage rates. We need wage growth. We need an economy to keep booming. All these things that are going on right now. And then one thing I will say, and this can apply on your outlook on stocks, bonds, housing, whatever it happens to be. We really want to avoid runaway inflation, which means inflation that's too big. And you'll hear all kinds of people, whether it's on the news or whatever it is, talk about inflation. No one ever really explains what that is. So I'm going to spend, a second talking about mortgage rates. Forgot about this slide. So what we want to talk about is, mortgage rates are kind of, let me go previous, all-time low. We hear that all the time. When rates go up a little bit, we freak out if we're shopping for a house, but in perspective, still very low. Right now they're right up around 3.1 if you look at this line. So they're trending up. Okay, they're trending up, not catastrophically. We're not even near where we were in May of last year, right? So year over year, we're still at 20 basis points, 0.2% lower. So what's the biggest danger of mortgage rates going up? Also, what could impact your stocks, your bonds? It's called inflation. I'll try to slow down for 1 second and just explain it. So 1970, you walk into a Dunkin' Donuts and order a cup of coffee, it costs 25 cents. You go walk in to order the same exact cup of coffee in 2019, 2020, it costs $1.59. So if you just took $100 and you threw it into a safe in 1970 and you open that safe up in 2019, you could buy a lot less coffee than you could in 1970. So when we talk about why this impacts interest rates, okay, or anything that is inflationary, let's just think about loaning you money. So if I loan Kathy $100 in 1970 and she pays me 3% interest every year, 30% a decade until 2020, and let's say in 1970, I could have bought 400 cups of coffee. So that's my baseline. If I just earned 3%, based on inflation, I only get $130 back in 2020. Okay. And I can only buy 242 cups of coffee every year if I use that money to buy coffee. So I lost, okay, because inflation was faster than what I was returning. If I look at it and I would have charged 6%, I could have bought 422 cups of coffee over that period of time. So again, it's about, I'm getting a fixed payment back. I charge 3%. I don't make enough money I should have just spent the money on day one. So that's why people who are lending money, let's say for 30 years, like a mortgage, right? If they think inflation is going to be high, they're going to charge a higher rate and demand a higher return so that they can buy more in the future. Hope that kind of made sense. It's the best way I can try to explain inflation, which is kind of a tricky subject. So there are plenty of reasons to think, why will inflation go up? A lot of it has to do with we all have more money in our pocket. So if we all have more money in our pockets, we're willing to spend more on stuff. A good example is the oil embargo of the 70s, what happened there. We've got a lot of stimulus coming through, right? We know about the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. We've got an infrastructure plan. We've got a $10 billion plan that's been proposed. When all that money goes into people's pockets, they have a tendency to spend it. When you all spend it at the same place, people have the ability to raise their prices and people will still buy it. Classic example is houses. That's why housing prices are going up. So, the question is, what are things going to look like over the foreseeable future? Are mortgage rates going to go up? Probably a little bit, but not a ton. Are we going to see hyperinflation? I don't think so. So I think inflation will be relatively controlled. And since I'm running out of time, what I will say is, most likely we'll see a spike in prices. Okay, we'll see a spike in housing prices. We'll see a spike in gas prices. We'll see a spike in everything that we kind of buy at the grocery store. It's going to happen. Over time, though, we think it'll regulate down, which means it won't last forever. The prices won't keep increasing. Okay. And what that means is good news for us. Okay. It means that the housing market especially will continue on a tear for a little bit, but things like lumber prices, et cetera, won't cause it to become completely unattainable over time. Also, mortgage rates should remain relatively low, which means, guess what? It's a great time to jump in, especially with a fixed rate mortgage, lock in long-term payments. Even though houses seem a little expensive, that's okay because we think they still have room to appreciate. And we also can say that we feel pretty good that we're not in a tremendous housing bubble. So sorry, that was a lot for 10 minutes, crammed it. That's what I've got. Thank you very much. I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Yes, okay, great. Hi, I'm Athena Peterson. I'm the managing broker at Long and Foster for the Reston and Fairfax locations. I've been with Long and Foster for about 20 years now, and lots of benefits of working with us on the brokerage side that I want to share with you from a broker perspective. So why Long and Foster? So one of the big focuses for us is we're all about trust, family, and excellence. So everything we do around a real estate transaction focuses around the trust that you put in us and in our agents to get you to the closing seamlessly. We work together collaboratively as a family, and we pride ourselves on excellence in a transaction. We have extensive listing exposure. We have huge market share in the markets that we work in and list in and sell in. So in any given market, you will see Long and Foster has an extensive list of listings that we share. And now in such a limited inventory market, we're able to exclusively share privately amongst our internal network of real estate agents some of the listings that are coming on the market before they hit the market. So we've been able to sell a lot of inventory prior to it going to the public MLS system. We are a technology focused firm, so we have lots of marketing initiatives for marketing both our traditional homes for sale as well as our luxury homes. We have a Christie's brand line that we use for our homes that are over $1 million. We have lots of specialized training for our agents. We are a full service company, so we are a one-stop shop team. You're able to work with us from the very start of your transaction on the brokerage side, where you can get pre-qualified with our Prosperity Home Mortgage team. You'd work with one of our qualified real estate agents like Catherine throughout your transaction. We also then have attorneys with RGS Title that are part of our team. And we also have a Long and Foster insurance team that supports the transaction as well. In addition to that, we have a moving company called Tailored Move that helps you with your move as well. So we have lots of services that we provide all as a one-stop shop service. We have a very high satisfaction client ratings. Our brand visibility is, we recently rebranded our signs and they are very visible from the street. So we have lots of visibility on our listings. And we make the transaction about you and focus on you, the client, to make sure that your experience with us is truly the best that you can have from start to finish. So we have a lot of systems in place to make sure that you experience from start to finish, from the time you want to work with us till the time you go to the closing table, that everything's taken care of for you. So Lynn Kemmerer and I are the managing brokers of the Reston team, and we pride ourselves on making sure that we work as a team, and we make sure all our agents are trained in the right way to make sure that the client receives the best customer experience possible. So we really truly pride ourselves in the family trust excellence model. This is our some of our teams that I talked about for that support our agents. We have a title team on the left with RGS Title. Don is our attorney. Carrie and Eric are on the title side, and then Brian, who will speak here pretty soon, is our Prosperity Home Mortgage a consultant, as well as Jim Weincheck, who supports our Prosperity team, and our insurance rep, which is Austin Head. So we work together as one collaborative group to help get you to closing. So we have proven success across all our markets. We bring, when you look at our stats and our charts and you compare us to other competitors, we bring more buyers and sellers together in the Mid-Atlantic region. We have the #1 brokerage in the Mid-Atlantic year over year. We know how to deliver results for both our buyers and our sellers. So in any given year, when you run our stats, you can see that our numbers tend to be much higher than our nearest competitor. We work together with a network of professionals. So again, we have a global reach with our Home Services of America network. We recently, we used to be with West Foster company, recently became part of Home Services of America. So our network has spread across the US. So we have a much broader span of sharing our listings and our buyer needs across the US. We are part of the leading companies of the world. So this is something that not very many brokerages are part of. This is a very prestigious thing to be part of. We are part of a global network that's leading RE companies of the world. We are specialized and trained. We have an extensive network for sharing across our firms. There's 550 firms across 4,600 offices that we network with. We collaborate together, and it spans internationally as well. A little bit about Home Services of America. This is our affiliation that we're part of the Berkshire Hathaway family, national and global network, unmatched financial stability. So we're well trusted and known and part of the umbrella of Home Services of America. One of the really unique new things that we have on our listing side, because listings are kind of our hot topic right now, we have a brand new turnkey listing concierge service that we are very excited about. We maximize the seller's experience in getting their home on the market quickly. A couple of key items about this program is that we bring in a concierge service to your home, and they will come in and do a consultation for you and give you upfront costs on any kind of remodel or staging or getting your home into move-ready condition that you may have not have been willing to do before you put your home on the market. And the way that it works is it's a turnkey service. They give you a quote for everything. They bring all the contractors in. They take care of everything to get your home market ready. And then you pay them at the closing table. So there's no upfront fee for that. So this is just a little bit more about what that turnkey service might look like for your home, with before and after pictures to get it into a more sellable like condition to sell much faster. Not that homes aren't selling fast now, but obviously you're going to get a lot more for your home once we get it in move-in ready condition, where it looks more presentable from the buyer's eye. So this is part of the turnkey listing service that we provide. So there's no minimum requirement to when you work with us. It's a free consultation. You're not required to use any or all of the service, but it is a really great service for getting your home ready to get a higher price once it goes on the market.
Yes, thank you so much, Athena. I think as we've learned, Long & Foster is, a global company, and with the Berkshire Hathaway backing and the amazing resources, both from a technology and personnel standpoint. So we're here to represent you the best that we can. Here's just a few seller process and tips down to the bottom right. You can see the yellow brick road kind of format. So we have a whole process in place to handle the details for you so that you can really focus on getting your home prepared and getting it ready. By using the TLC program that Athena just described, you can increase the return on investment by at least 110%. Sometimes more than that. You can also do staging through them. And at some point, you can also use some of your own contractors through the TLC program. So I think, just whether you get a professional stager or just kind of decluttering and just making your home more presentable so that when a buyer walks in, they can feel their presence, like, oh, I want to go have coffee over by the table over there, or It just kind of lets them feel at home. So you want to inspire that feeling within your buyers. And within high demand and low interest rates, days on the market sometimes last one weekend. Around just down the street, we had a house sell in one weekend for 75K over asking price. So you will have multiple offers, high prices, which is great for the sellers. This is completely a seller's market right now. So another thing you want to consider is not just the price when you compare your offers, but also the timing, the proposed type of financing and down payment, any waivers of standard buyer inspections or contingencies, what the seller costs may be. So there's a whole slew of things that you want to consider when you look at your offers. So this is something that we're here to help guide you throughout the selling process. So we do try to keep it as simple as possible and provide you with the full Long & Foster backed system of financing, insurance, settlement, and move and everything, just to meet your real estate goals and deliver an experience that is of your liking. And we give you the peace of mind so you don't have to worry about the details. Next.
All right, good evening, everybody. So my name is Brian Hope. I am the mortgage consultant in our Reston, Northern Virginia area. I work alongside Kathy and Athena, and Justin helps out on the prosperity side as well earlier. And so again, what I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but I focus more on the buy side, right? So my main goal is when Kathy says, Brian, I have a buyer and they're looking and they're willing and they're ready to go buy property. My goal is to get them pre-approved, get them qualified, issue a pre-approval letter, and essentially get them ready to go so that they know what they're qualified for, and they can start looking around at different properties so that when that property comes up that they're interested in buying, we can be ready to go to write a contract. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Kath, thank you. So one of the first questions I always get for either first-time home buyers or non-first-time home buyers, people that maybe have been out of the market a while, is, do I have to put 20% down? Right. So the answer to that question is no. You do not have to put 20% down in this market, and you don't have to put 20% down. So I'm licensed in Virginia. That's applied all around the country. Right. So most of these programs I'll talk about today, and in a little more detail in a seminar I'll talk to you guys about towards the end, are national programs. Right. So I'll talk a little bit about those low down payment options, whether you have to be a first-time home buyer or not, and what a first-time home buyer actually means. What is a pre-approval and why is it needed, especially in this market? How does that differ from a pre-qualification? And how can we set how can we set ourselves apart from the other banks and the other mortgage companies out there to help win in this really competitive market? So that's what I'm going to be going through today. So as I mentioned before, so what are the low down payment options that are available to you as soon to be new homeowners, right? So the conventional loan has a minimum down payment of 3%. Okay. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer to qualify for that 3% down. I'm going to go in a little more detail in this in my seminar that we'll talk about towards the end. There's a program called Home Ready, which is part of conventional. If you make under a certain income limit, you can put down 3% and not be a first-time home buyer. Okay, FHA is a government program. Typically, it's a program that is designed for clients with credit scores under that 700 is usually 680 to 700 is usually when it's more beneficial to go with the FHA loan. And that has a minimum down payment of 3.5%. Okay, so it's pretty close to that 3 originally on conventional. What's really exciting is we just rolled out, and we were only, and Justin may be able to clarify this for me, but I think we're only one of 5 banks that have this FHA no down payment requirement product available for non-first-time home buyers. And Justin, I don't know if we're one of 5 or one of 6, but it's very exclusive to our company.
6, yeah.
So guys, that's another product that we have available. USDA is a housing loan available at no down payment. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer. but it's a geographical product. So you cannot qualify for a USDA loan in Los Angeles or Washington, DC, or Chicago, right? These are products that are available for more rural areas. And I have a map and a link to a website where on the USDA portal that allows me to search that property. So it's all based on not where you live now, but where is that property that you're purchasing? If it is in that USDA location, you are eligible for that program under certain income limits. So that's a no down payment product as well. One of my favorites that we have available is the VA loan, and that's designed for retired and or active duty military. And that's 0% down. Okay, so they do not have to make a down payment to qualify for the VA loan. One really cool part of the VA loan that we do on our side at Prosperity, and we've been doing this since this product rolled out and West Foster came up with it, is we have an incentive program for our veterans where we actually pay for and credit back the origination fee, which is typically $1,200, and the appraisal fee, which is usually anywhere between $450 and $575. Okay, so those two costs are two of the biggest costs associated with the lender as part of the closing costs. So right off the bat with the VA loan, we just get rid of them, which is a great incentive. And it's something I've searched, and I've been doing this industry for about 10 years now. I have not seen a lender be able to compete with us on the VA loan. And so that's just another great product that we do for our veterans. And last but not least, the VHDA loan. And again, I am just licensed in Virginia. So there are all sorts of programs from state to state, but this VHDA loan is a first-time homebuyer product, specifically in the state of Virginia. They have products similar in the state of Maryland or in DC and all over the country. But that is another option for first-time home buyers to consider. And I always go through when that conversation begins about, hey, is there any products you have with no down payment? So those are kind of just a gist. And we can go on to the next slide. Kathy, thank you. So, as Justin kind of talked about, and Kathy and Athena, we've all had the same message, right? This market is extremely competitive. So oftentimes people come to me and say, well, I'm calling you to get pre-approved. I'm calling you to get pre-qualified. Those are two very different things. So it's important, especially in this market where it's super, super competitive, to understand what those differences are. Okay, so a pre-approval is really taking the step to go through an application with a lender. So going through the application with me, going through income, going through employment, going through monthly debt, pulling the credit report, and making sure I review that report thoroughly. What are the scores? And the last thing that I do to make sure that I can issue a pre-approval letter is I request certain documentation from the new buyer, like pay stubs or W-2s or tax returns. All of those things that are going to help me verify employment, income, and what we have placed on the application is in fact accurate to move forward with an approval letter. A lot of banks today, because they're so busy, and and this isn't to poo-poo other banks and other loan officers and lenders out there, but they're busy, and when people get busy, they get lazy. And so what a lot of lenders are doing today is writing quick, what's called pre-qualification letters, which essentially means nothing. Okay, that means maybe you went online to a bank and said, I want to buy a house. You put in a few pieces of information and poof, they spit out a letter to you. It doesn't necessarily mean the credit's been run. It doesn't mean that you've submitted any documentation to the bank. So what happens in this environment is when there are multiple offers, and as Justin said, there are cases where 20, 30, 40 people are trying to compete for the same property. If the seller sees a pre-qualification come across the desk, it usually ends up in the trash right away. Okay, so it's so important in this market, especially, to make sure you're dealing with a lender that's going through those proper steps to get you pre-approved, so that you can have the best possible advantage when they're looking at all those offers. So we've talked about the pre-approval, we've talked about the pre-qualification. One thing that we do at Prosperity to help set you guys apart, and when I say you guys, I mean the buyers, is we have a product called Buyer Advantage. So not only are we collecting documentation from you, pulling the credit, verifying income, assets, employment, all of that stuff that I typically do on a pre-approval, but we take it one step further and we then submit your file to underwriting. And what an underwriter does is they're kind of the gatekeeper. They're the ones that say, hey, this loan is either going to be approved, or hold on a second, we need to take another look at this and get more documentation. So this Buyer Advantage program, by taking one step further and getting through underwriting, we now have what's called a fully underwritten loan commitment. And when you submit that along with this Buyer Advantage certificate with your offer, and I can basically call the listing agent and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson have not only been pre-approved, but I've put them all the way through underwriting, that loan is fully approved. Okay, so there's no way that the bank is then going to deny the financing. So you can see how that creates a much more competitive advantage in this market where things are so crazy. And that's one way that we can set ourselves apart at Prosperity to help buyers win in this really, really crazy market. There are cases, and there have been times when it's not a seller's market, it's a buyer's market. And sellers are just begging you to buy their properties, right? That, and that's where maybe this type of program isn't something we necessarily need. But in this market today, and I would foresee for the foreseeable future, as inventory stays low, this is a crucial advantage that we have over competition, over other banks, that allows you guys and gives you a better advantage to win these properties and win these competitive offers. Okay, so I went through a lot of basic things that we do at Prosperity. I do a home buyer seminar every quarter. Okay, so I wanted to just share this flyer, and I think hopefully we can forward this out to everybody on the call. Again, I'm licensed in Virginia, but for those of you that are outside of the state of Virginia, all of the things I'm going to talk about during the seminar, what it takes to qualify based on credit score. I'm going to dive into a few more details of those conventional products, FHA products, VHDA, some of the things I talked about in the beginning, and really show you some examples of where it's beneficial to qualify for each product. Okay, what it takes to buy a home today, and go through a lot of those details. So although you may not be looking to buy in Virginia, I would really, really encourage you to at least take a look at the seminar. Obviously, it's free. It's over Zoom with everything going on in COVID. So we'll make sure to get that Zoom link out. But if you're interested, please let me know. My information is all in the flyer. It's just a great, whether you're a first-time home buyer, whether you're a buyer that's been out of the market for a while, because buying a home 20 years ago or 15 years ago prior to the financial crisis and the crash is a lot different than buying a house today, right? So I go through some of those things as well. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, been out of the market a while, I even touch a little bit on investment. It's a great seminar for all buyers, all ages, wherever you are in your life. So please consider, and I will leave it at that.
Okay, thanks so much, Brian. I think everyone can see that we're surrounded by experts here this evening, and we appreciate everyone's insights. This slide here just talks a little bit about, being a home buyer. I think, being prepared and partnering with the right real estate team, regardless of what state you're in, understanding the competitive nature of the market, also being patient. You may not get the first house that you come across. And so if you kind of set those expectations up front, you won't have buyer fatigue is something that's in the market, although I like to look at the bright side. So we want to pull out all the stops to impress the sellers. That might include waiving some contingencies, having a larger earnest money deposit, or being flexible with your closing date. Those are a few items. Plus, as Brian mentioned, getting pre-approved before you even begin your search. So once we have a consult with you, we would then provide you with different tools and resources that you can use. There's a multiple listing service. There's a Real Scout online tool that we can provide for you. And we also have access to Coming Soon before it's put into the public system. So we hope to be able to give you those insights to give you kind of a leg up in a competitive market and get you through a successful offer and closing. So that's, we're all on the same page. So, okay, next. So we can answer questions in a minute. I just wanted to say we have a bright future in the real estate world if you can have the patience and set expectations up front and be realistic about the environment. With renewed hope post-pandemic and the world opening back up with increased vaccine rollout, there is some hope that there will be new listings hitting the market as people become more at ease of just opening up their homes to people. You know, when people have 2 kids at home trying to study in 1-2 different rooms, the last thing they want to do is have people come through their house, or even doing virtual tours are kind of complicated. So I think with new construction coming on the, you know, it's one viable solution, even though the lumber prices have increased, it's still, you just may have to wait 4 to 8 months for new homes. But that's, you know, hoping that we can get new listings to drive demand down and supply up. So we'd love to partner with you for the LF1 Long and Foster One integrated approach. This just tells a little bit about me. I'm a UR class of 1985. I went to the B School, finance major, then on to George Washington for my MBA in finance and investments. I'm a proud parent of 2 boys, and my contact information we can share at the end is on the last slide. Here's a little bit about my Richmond experience. From the B School to the gazebo where my husband Steve and I got engaged, actually May 7th, just a few years ago, to our wedding at the University of Richmond Chapel. You can see the trolley in the middle with all our friends and family hanging off the trolley. We've gone on many Richmond ski trips with growing family, from 10 couples, no kids, to 10 couples, well, 5 couples, 16 kids. So anyway, we've had lots of great times together, and once a spider, always a spider. And I highly recommend the school for anyone who has children in their high school years. It's a great, great environment. I love it. So, so yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I wanted to just thank everyone for joining us tonight, and to Mary Alice for being so gracious of her time to host the event, and to all of our panelists, and also to all of our guests. So we do have a few questions in the chat. I can open that up real quick and see if we can have a little bit of discussion. And let's see, it's 7:41. We have about 5 minutes, and then we can take any additional questions. Feel free to share those with Mary Alice, and we can get back to you. So one question, is it a good time to become a real estate agent? So I will let Athena answer that question, if she can.
Yes. It's a great time to be a real estate agent. I think that we've had a surge of folks coming into the industry from all kinds of different parts of life that want to join the real estate world. And I think it's pretty awesome to see some of the successes that we've seen from 8 new agents who have joined the industry. You know, it's not an easy job. It's still hard work. It does take a lot of dedication and commitment and time. I think people see, oh, real estate industry is thriving and it's doing so great and it's going to be easy. It's not easy. There's a lot of upfront work you got to do to get your career up and running. But what's really awesome about a company like Long and Foster is we do have a lot of tools and a lot of training and really all the right resources that you need to get up and running very quickly in your career. So as long as you're willing to put in the work and the effort, it is a great time to be in the business. It's obviously you're an independent contractor with a lot of guidance from us and direction on how to guide you in your career, but there is a lot of money to be made in real estate.
I second what Athena has said, that it's great to be entrepreneurial and have a career where you have some flexibility. You do have to work hard for sure. As someone who, I guess as part of my master's program, taking new venture initiation was what kind of drove me initially to be entrepreneurial. And so now I feel like I can finally give back to the community that I've come to know and love, having been here 40 plus years in Northern Virginia. But so yeah, it's a great career, highly recommend it. You get to help people, work hard, and have fun. And our other question we had was, do you have any real estate agent referrals for Rockville, Maryland? Any thoughts on the, Athena, I guess we have a whole network of referrals that we can offer to.
So in our specific footprint, we do have agents licensed in Maryland, DC, and Virginia, so that we actually manage internally. But we have also a wide network outside of the area that we can refer business to, whether it's in Vegas or California or just down the street to DC. But internally, I'm a licensed broker in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So we do have agents in our office that can assist in all three of those areas.
Okay, I think that's it. Does anybody else have any other questions? I guess you can send those by email to the UR Alumni Association, to Mary Alice, and we can make sure that we get back to you on those. And we really appreciate your time tonight. It's 7:44, so maybe you have time to go celebrate Cinco de Mayo and get a margarita. So thanks again to the panelists. Thanks to the audience for joining. And we hope if you'd like to join again for Brian's seminar, we will send out the information on that as well. And go Spiders, good luck this weekend for you class of 21 graduates. As you celebrate your graduation in person, good for you. I have a couple of my college friends who have, one as a senior who's on the lacrosse team and the other has a senior who's in a sorority, and they're both graduating. I'm just glad they can be in person. So congratulations to all the graduates, happy summer, and we hope to hear from you soon. Okay, thanks, bye.